Okay, so today we'll start a little differently, standing at the top of the mat. So standing at the top of the mat with the feet hip width distance apart. Look down at your feet for a moment and just start to rock forward so much that you feel like the toes have to grip the mat like brakes, and then start to rock back onto the heels just to where the toes start to lift and you need to start bringing yourself forward. And do that several times. So just going forward and back a few times, feeling how the feet work to catch you, and also starting to engage the soles of the feet so that they grip the mat a little bit differently. It's a nice warm up for the feet to just go forward and back and test those boundaries and going slow. And then find center between the balls of the feet and the heels of the feet. And now we'll go side to side. So you just go a little too far over to where you feel uneven in the feet as you go side to side. And now try to find center on the feet so that your weight is evenly distributed between the whole sole of the foot. And the toes are resting on the mat. They're just there if you need them, but they're pretty soft. It's not like they're gripping the mat a whole lot. You want to use the rest of the foot to do that. And when you start to press down into the feet, you're spreading the mat apart with the feet, but rooting down through the inner edges of the feet at the same time. You'll feel the outer ankles start to hug in. You'll start to feel the calves lift, the thighs lift, the belly lifts. The chest lifts, but the shoulders move away from the ears and open up the chest so that it's nice and wide. Arms down by the sides. Look straight forward and point the tip of your nose forward and down a little bit. And you can either focus on one spot in front of you, something where you can just stay fixed with the eyes, or you can close the eyes, whichever one feels like it would be a better way to start your practice. Come to the breath. So taking a deeper breath in through the nose. Exhale out of the mouth. Keep the same posture, engagement. Inhale in through the nose. Exhale out of the mouth, let it go. One more like that. Big breath in. Slow breath out through the mouth. This time, breathe in through the nose. Back out through the nose, nice and slow. Keep going. Try not to lose the engagement of the posture. It's real easy to go back to the way you normally stand, but see if you can keep the engagement that we started with, or at least coming back to it over and over again as you start to focus on your breath. So taking the mind to a different place, but trying to hang on to what our first layer. And we'll begin to move. On the next inhale, reach the arms all the way up. On the exhale, hands come together down in front of the heart. Two more like that. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up. Hands come together down in front of the heart on the exhale. One more like that. Inhale. Exhale. This time, inhale, reach the arms all the way up on the inhale. Put a little bend in the knees. On the exhale, fold down over the legs. And that bend in the knees can get as deep as you want, especially if the legs are tight. Let the head and the neck go. Clasp opposite elbows in front of you. A deep bend in the knees is probably a better idea than having straighter legs, but listen to your body and see what it means. Nod the head yes a few times, no a few times. Then come to stillness with the head, releasing the neck. Switch the clasp of the elbows, other forearm in front. Maybe the legs start to straighten a tiny bit. Hands come down toward the mat. On the inhale, come up halfway. So slide the hands up the sides of the legs and think cobra in the upper body. So you're reaching the chest forward, hugging the belly in. And then exhale, release. Two more like that. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release. This time we're coming all the way up to standing. Circle the arms, keep that engagement in the feet, the legs, all the way up the spine. Hands come together down in front of the heart on the exhale. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, forward fold all the way back down. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way back up to standing. Hands come together at the very top, down in front of the heart. One more half sun salute A. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, rise back up to standing. Palms together overhead. Exhale, down in front of the heart. Little different this time. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Chair pose. Bend the knees, reach the arms forward and up. So shifting the weight into the heels of the feet, making sure you can see all 10 toes, hugging the core in, and then lifting the chest. So legs go down, chest lifts up. Arms are reaching in the direction that you want the chest to go in. So that helps you find that lift. And those legs, as you press down into the feet, the outer thighs press in toward one another and the inner thighs press out toward the outer thighs. See if you can stay with your same Ujjayi breath, building a little bit of heat in the legs. Maybe the chest comes up a little higher. And exhale, forward fold. Let that go. So here the legs might want to straighten a little bit more, head and neck release. You shift the weight into a little bit more into the balls of the feet so that the heels become lighter. Then inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Fingertips are blocks. Step the left foot back behind you, coming into a runner's lunge. And you'll set that back knee down. Up to you if you tuck the back toes or keep the top of the foot on the mat. Reach the arms all the way up. So as you reach up with the upper body, lower body's going down. Then interlace the fingers back behind you. Press the knuckles back as you open up across the chest. Getting a bit of an upper body opening, but also deeper into the top of the left hip. Hands come back down to the mat. Back toes tucked, lift the back knee, straighten the front leg. So modified pyramid pose. Take it easy in this one, especially if the legs are tight. If it's too much, walk the hands in toward the body a little bit. If it's not enough, walk the hands forward. So play with where the hands are until you feel like that's exactly where you need to be. Let the head and the neck go. Stay high on the ball of the back foot. Then inhale forward to a lunge, big step forward, left foot meets the right foot. Inhale up halfway, slide the hands up the sides of the legs, reach the chest forward. Exhale, fold back down, right foot steps back behind you. You want a long stride, then set the back knee down, reach the arms forward and up, low lunge. We'll interlace the fingers behind the back the unusual way. So one finger over, press the knuckles back, shoulders away from the ears, spread the chest open. Hands slowly make their way back down to the mat. You could stay on the fingertips, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, straighten the front leg, modified pyramid, fold over the left leg. Play with the hands, see where you need them to be for this side. Inhale forward to a lunge. Big step forward, right foot steps up to meet the left foot. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Hold plank pose. So feet, keep them hip width distance apart, hands right underneath the shoulders. So wrists are stacked underneath the shoulders. You're reaching the chest forward, stretching the legs back behind you, and hugging the core in. And then hover the right toes away from the mat. Bring the right knee to the right tricep. Try not to lift the hips. Keep reaching the chest forward. Come back to plank pose. Hover the left toes just an inch or two away from the mat. Bring the left knee forward, high up to the left tricep. Keep looking forward. Heart reaches forward. Back to plank pose. Lower all the way down to the mat slowly. Tops of the feet come to the mat, hands back by the lower ribs. Baby cobra on the inhale. Exhale, release. 2 more like that. Inhale up. Exhale, release. Last one. Inhale up. Exhale, release. Come up to hands and knees. Take child's pose. Sit the hips back. Bring the forehead down. Crawl the hands forward. Hips to the heels. Unless the knees are bothering you, hips can always go up higher. Lift the gaze, look forward, downward facing dog. Tuck the toes, lift the hips. So backs of the legs might be a little bit more open than usual at this point. You could still pedal out the feet if you want to, or maybe you just work toward getting the heels down toward the mat. You could even lift the toes when you do that. Keep lifting the hips at the same time. So lift the toes, lift the hips. You'll feel the heels go down and the back of the legs get even longer. And you can just let the toes rest on the mat. Push the shoulders way back so they're behind the wrists. And then see if you can lift the tops of the forearms away from the mat at the same time, and you'll feel the fingertips press down into the mat a little bit more. Then you'll bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, bring the feet up between the hands, forward fold, top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, press into the feet, rise all the way up to standing. Hands come together overhead, down in front of the heart on the exhale. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway chaturanga. You choose cobra or up dog if you feel ready for up dog. Keep the chest open, shoulders away from the ears. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Bending the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, feet up between the hands. Be as quiet as possible in that transition. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale, circle the arms all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands down to the mat, step it back to plank pose. Lower down halfway chaturanga, chest open. Rise up to your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Still lifting the toes, heels coming down toward the mat, pressing into all 10 fingertips. Tops of the forearms lift away from the mat. Bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, maybe lightly hop. Feet come up between the hands. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up to standing. Hands come together, down in front of the heart. Last one. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose, lower down halfway chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Everything engaged in your back bend, legs all the way back, downward facing dog. Look forward at the hands, step the right foot all the way through to the top of the mat. Make sure the feet are hip width distance apart. Dig down into both legs, so try not to put all the weight into the right leg, and reach the arms back behind you, hovering the chest low over the front thigh. Dig into that right heel, reach the arms forward and all the way up, coming into your crescent pose. Bend the back knee, pull those back ribs off of the hips. Feel all that space you just made in the spine. Keep it as you work toward a straighter back leg. And if you start to take away that space in the spine, don't straighten the leg all the way. Open it up, warrior two. Left heel comes down flat. Right foot probably needs to come in toward the center a little bit. Then straighten the front leg, hands to the hips. Turn the right toes in, left toes out. So you're facing the back of the mat. Reverse warrior. Send that left knee forward, reach up and back. Straighten the front leg, hands come to the hips. Turn those left toes in so you're facing the side of the mat. Hands on the hips as you fold forward, bring the hands down right in front of you. Left hand in front of the face, which is pretty far forward. What's great about that is you can shift the weight forward until you feel like the weight's even between the balls of the feet and the heels of the feet. Once you have that, squeeze those outer legs in toward the midline and the outer hips in. You'll feel the core engage, and then reach the right arm up. So you're twisting toward the top of the mat. You can keep the arm reaching up. If you want to take a half bind, you could turn the right palm to face behind you and wrap the arm behind the back. Goal is to open up that right side chest and shoulder. So wherever you put the hand is fine as long as it maximizes that space. Sometimes we get too hooked on where the hand goes. Right arm reaches back up toward the sky. If you took the half bind, right hand down to the mat, turn the toes to the top of the mat, walk the hands forward, back into your runner's lunge. Plant the hands, step back, downward facing dog. Just stay here, take a couple of breaths. Start to work the heels down toward the mat. You can lift the toes away again if you want, and then set them back down gently. Look forward at the hands. Left foot steps up between the hands, feet hip width distance apart. Make sure the weight's a little bit more even in both legs. So you're using that back leg, and then reach the arms back behind you. Chest is reaching forward, and it's like you're squeezing something between the palms and the hands so that the arms stay engaged. Take this all the way up, crescent pose. Reach the arms forward and up. Bend the back knee, pull the back ribs off of the hips. Keep this space in the back as you work toward a straighter back leg. And you just see, where does the space start to go away? And maybe you have to keep a little bit of a bend in the right knee. Right heel comes down flat, warrior two. Left foot shifts in a little bit. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips. Turn the left toes in. Keep angling them in a little bit. Turn the right toes out. Reverse warrior. Send that right knee forward. Reach up and back with the right arm. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips. Turn the right toes in, fold forward halfway, hands down in front of the shoulders. Right hand right in front of the face. Shift the weight so that you're even in the balls of the feet and the heels of the feet, and then start to squeeze the legs together. Outer hips come in toward the midline, belly hugs in. Lift the left arm up, long spine. So sometimes we get a longer spine if we put a little bit of a bend in the knees. You could play with that and see if you get more length. If you don't, just come back to straight legs. And if you did it on the first side, turn that left palm to face behind you, wrap the left arm behind the back. Both shoulders away from the ears if we can. Left arm comes back up toward the sky, left hand down to the mat in front of you, and then turn the toes to the top of the mat. Step straight back, downward facing dog. Hold down dog for 5 breaths, or glide forward on an inhale to plank pose and move through a vinyasa. Up to you. Once you get to downward facing dog, bring the knees down to the mat. Feet go over to one side. You're coming to seated on the mat. So legs out in front of you. And you'll probably need to scoot yourself so that the hips are more in the center of the mat. Then from here, hug the feet or hug the legs in toward the body, and you'll feel the toes lift. And you're trying to find that flat spot just above the glutes, the sacrum. So if you kind of move around a little bit, you'll find a spot where you can kind of balance a little bit. It's a tiny spot. It's not that big. Squeeze the legs together. So the inner thighs, inner feet, reach the arms forward, lift the chest. Now lift the feet. And the legs can have a bend in them. If you want more of a challenge, you could straighten the legs, but listen to the hip flexors. For a lot of us, it's too much. So maybe you just keep the legs bent. And then we look up to keep the chest lifted. It also gives us a longer spine. So you're in boat pose, Navasana. And we squeeze those legs together so they're not just hanging out, but they're helping the pose. And then lower down, Ardha Navasana. So heels hover, shoulders hover, and you're reaching forward. Reach the arms straight up to the sky, reach the legs up straight up to the sky. And then open up the legs, so wider than hip width distance, almost like a wide-legged forward fold. Keep the legs, just reach the arms back behind you, and now reach the arms through the legs. So hands reach forward, and we'll do that a few more times. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, lift everything up and forward. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, reach forward. Inhale, reach back. Exhale, reach forward. This time, inhale, reach back. Bring the legs back together. Reach the arms up toward the sky. Hug the belly and lift the shoulders up as high as you can. Now see if you can lift the hips up a tiny bit and then set them back down without moving the legs too much. That's the tricky part. So lift the hips, set them back down. 2 more. Lift the hips, set them back down. You're still reaching up as much as you can. Lift the hips, set them back down. And then bring the legs forward, arms reach forward. So back to Ardha Navasana. Quads tight. Up to Navasana, lift the chest, look up, keep reaching the arms forward. Nice long spine. And then set the feet down onto the mat. We're done with that. All right. So soles of the feet on the mat, about hip width distance apart. Bring the hands back behind you. So you're reclined, you're sitting back. And those fingertips, pointing them out to the sides gives your shoulders some space. So fingers pointed out to the side. You'll press down into the feet, lift the hips up, and you're stretching the front side of the body. So thighs and heart are moving away from one another. And you can look up, you can look forward if looking up is scary. Some of you might want to look back a little bit, but just make sure you preserve the length of the neck. And slowly set the hips back down, rest. So that was reverse tabletop. We'll do 2 more. So think about it more as a stretch for the front side of the body. Press into the feet, lift the hips up, get as long as you can, shoulders away from the ears, and exhale, set it back down. 1 more. Inhale, lift the hips up. Exhale, set it back down. And then from here, we'll come back to downward facing dog. So you can cross the legs, bring the hands forward, step the feet back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Nod the head yes a few times, no a few times. Work the heels back toward the mat. Toes can lift up. All 10 fingertips press into the mat as the forearms lift away from the mat. Set the toes down. Look forward. Right foot steps up between the hands. Feet hip width distance apart. Get even in the legs, so it's not all in the front leg. Reach the arms back behind you. Chest is open. And then start to look forward ahead of the mat. Hug that outer right hip in. Make sure you're still reaching back with that left leg. And we're coming up to warrior 3. So core hugs in. You start to shift the weight forward. And as the core's hugging in, you're pressing back with that left foot, like you're pushing something away from you. We're slowly going to come up to standing without touching the left foot on the mat. So left foot lifts away from the mat. Bring the knee up to hip height, left knee. And then maybe kick that left leg forward. Bend the left knee back to warrior 3. Go slow. Play with your balance a little bit. So slower is always better. Arms are still reaching back. Step back to a lunge. Bend the standing leg. Reach back with that left foot. Reach the arms all the way up. Crescent pose. Warrior 2. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips, turn those right toes in, left toes out, reverse warrior. Left knee goes forward, you reach up and back. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips, turn the left toes to face the side of the mat, fold forward halfway, hands come down in front of the shoulders. Left hand right in front of the face, shift the weight so you're even in the balls of the feet and the heels of the feet. Reach the right arm up, keep those legs squeezing together. Stay here or the half bind, wrapping the right arm behind the back. Right arm reaches back up to the sky. Right hand comes down to the floor. Turn the toes to the top of the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Up to you if you take a vinyasa, you can skip it, or you have time, you can glide forward to plank, lower down. Use your breath to guide you. Left foot steps up between the hands, feet hip width distance apart. Get some weight into that back leg and then reach the arms back behind you. Chest is reaching forward, but that right leg is really engaged. And also that left hip is right behind the left knee, so it's not swinging out to the left. Look way forward. Warrior 3. Shift the weight forward. Keep that right leg engaged and bring the heel up to hip height. Try not to lift the right hip. And then we're slowly coming up to standing without touching the sole of the right foot to the mat and bringing that right knee up to hip height. Maybe extending that right leg forward. So it's like a really slow kick. Come back to the bent leg. Push that right leg back, warrior 3. Stay looking forward, down at the ground. Extend that right leg all the way. Then bend the standing knee, step back to a lunge, feet hip width, rise up, crescent pose. Open it up, warrior 2. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips, left toes in, right toes out, reverse warrior. Right arm up and back. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips, turn those right toes in, fold forward halfway, right hand down in front of the face, shift the weight so you're even in the feet, left arm reaches up. Long spine, strong legs. Maybe the half bind if you're playing with that today. Left arm reaches back up to the sky, bring it back down to the floor, turn the toes to face the top of the mat, step back, downward facing dog. Stay here or vinyasa, up to you. From down dog, bend the knees, look forward to the top of the mat, step, walk, float, bring the feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. All the way up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. Inhale, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat. Step that left foot back behind you. Keep the feet hip width distance apart. Reach the arms alongside the body. Chest is reaching forward. Get control of the legs, especially that back leg. Hug the core in, warrior three. Take your time, shift forward. Keep pressing back through that left foot. Slowly up to standing without touching the left foot onto the mat. Knee to hip height. Extend that left leg forward. Bend the left leg back to warrior three. Back to crescent pose. Take your time in that transition. Reach back with the ball of the left foot. Reach the arms all the way up. What a gratifying exit after that standing series. Then open it up, warrior two. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips. Turn those right toes in, left toes out. Reverse warrior. Get long in the right side of the torso as well as the left. Then straighten the front leg, hands to the hips, turn those left toes in, fold forward halfway, hands down in front of the shoulders. Left hand in front of the face, get even on the balls and the heels of the feet. Right arm reaches up, legs engaged, maybe the half bind. Shoulders away from the ears. Right arm reaches back up. Bring it back down underneath the shoulder. Turn the toes to the top of the mat. Step that left foot forward up to meet the right foot. Forward fold, top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, hands down to the mat. Right foot steps back this time, feet hip width. Reach the arms alongside the body. Keep some weight in that back leg. Starting to look forward, warrior three. Take your time, move into it with strength and control. Slowly up to standing, hovering that right foot away from the mat. Once you're in one line, bring that right knee up to hip height. Extend that right leg forward, keeping the chest lifted. Then bend the right knee, warrior three. Slowly. Crescent. Reach back with that right foot out to the right a little bit. Arms reach all the way up. Warrior two. Spin that right heel down flat. Spread the arms out wide. And weight in the back leg here too. So it should feel like the right foot's reaching through the floor. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips. Angle in those left toes. Turn the right toes out. Reverse warrior. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips. Turn the right toes in to face the side of the mat. Fold forward halfway, hands down in front of the shoulders. Get the weight even in the balls of the feet, the heels of the feet. Squeeze the legs in toward the midline, outer hips. Hug the core in. Right hand in front of the face. Left arm reaches up. Maybe the left arm behind the back. Left arm reaches back up to the sky, then back down underneath the shoulder. Turn the toes to the top of the mat. Right foot steps up to meet the left foot. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, chair pose on the inhale. Bend the knees, reach the arms up. Hands come together right in front of the heart. Twist to the right. So you can keep the chest lifted, or you can take the twist deeper and tap the elbow on top of the thigh, or hook the elbow outside of the thigh. So whichever one's feeling like a good twist for you today. Make sure the knees are even, you're lengthening the spine and gazing in the direction that you're twisting in. Then look down at the feet. Keep the twist. Start to shift the weight over to the right foot. Hover the left foot away from the mat. So like you're bringing the heel up, like almost like you're a flamingo, heel up toward the hips. And then set that left foot back down, chair pose. So just reaching the arms forward and up. Exhale, forward fold. Couple extra breaths in this forward fold Uttanasana. Pull the shoulders away from the ears so they're going more toward the hips, heads going down toward the mat. Then inhale up halfway, hands slide up the sides of the legs. Exhale, fold back to chair pose on your inhale. Dig down into the heels of the feet, reach the arms up. Hands come together right in front of the heart. Twist to the left this time. See if you're keeping the chest up high or tapping the elbow or hooking the elbow. Get long in the spine, knees even. Look down at the feet, especially that left foot. Start to shift the weight over to the left foot without swinging the left hip out to the left. And then slowly lift the heel on the right foot. Maybe the foot hovers. Maybe you can get the heel all the way up toward the glute in your standing chair, one-legged twist. Right foot comes back down, you're in twisted chair. Then bring the torso forward, arms up, chair pose. And exhale, forward fold. Stay here. So it's like you're hanging upside down. We want to try to get the hips right over the heels, which means the balls of the feet get heavier. And you lift the hips up. Keep the backs of the legs long. Then inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, step the left foot back about 2/3 of the way. So it's like warrior one feet. Those left toes are pointing more toward the left corner of the mat. And your feet are on separate train tracks. So pull that right hip back, left hip forward and fold forward. So blocks are a great idea for this pose underneath the hands, but you're pretty open. Some of you might be able to get the fingertips or the hands flat on the mat. So we did a modified pyramid pose at the beginning of our sequence, and now we're doing the full version of it. So Parsvottanasana, which means the feet are flat. And they don't have to be. You could lift that back heel if the legs are tight and the heel doesn't want to go down. So we never want to force these poses. Then start to lift yourself up halfway, just coming up onto the fingertips. Put a little bend in that right knee, step the left foot forward and switch sides. Right foot steps back 2/3 of the way. Right toes pointing up toward the left or right corner of the mat. Pull that left hip back, right hip forward, lengthen the spine forward halfway, and now fold over the left leg. Decide if you want to walk the hands in toward the body or forward for more intensity. Let the head and the neck go. Even here, shoulders pulling up toward the hips, but the sternum is reaching forward toward the foot. Next, inhale, come up onto your fingertips, looking forward. Put a bend in that left knee so you can step the right foot forward. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, hands to the mat, step back to plank pose. Last vinyasa if you want it, or just go straight back to downward facing dog. Back bend will probably feel good at this point. Exhale back to downward facing dog. Then bring the knees down to the mat. Bring the forearms down to the mat. So hips stay right over the knees, belly hugs in, walk the elbows as far forward as you can, bring the forehead down to the mat. And if it's okay, you don't feel any tingling sensations in the arms or the hands, make sure the arms are shoulder width distance apart. If you do feel any kind of tingling, you want to widen the arms. And if that's still happening, maybe you just come to child's pose and skip this altogether. You're feeling pretty good. Hands can come together like prayer, and maybe they come back behind the head. If that's going well, you can start to crawl the elbows forward so you feel that length in the sides of the torso. Belly's still hugging in, but the heart's still melting down toward the mat. And we'll set the hands back down to the mat if the hands are back behind the head. Lift the head, walk the hands back in so that the elbows are underneath the shoulders. And then 1 foot at a time, step back to plank pose, and you'll set the hips down onto the mat, tops of the feet to the mat, lift the chest, coming into Sphinx pose. So the collarbones widen, shoulders are, the bottom tips of the shoulder blades are pushing the chest forward between the arms, and the tailbone's pointing back toward the heels. Belly lifts away from the mat, pubic bones on the mat, tops of the feet on the mat to keep the legs engaged. And then we look down the bridge of the nose to keep the back of the neck long. And you'll start to come down onto your stomach all the way. Cactus the arms and look to the left. So the right side of the face is on the mat. Left knee comes out to the left. So it's in line with the hip. Inner edge of the foot is down on the mat. So you can stay like this. If you want to take the twist a little deeper, you could lift the head and turn it the other way so that the nose points away from that left knee. And you know, you can always go back to where you were before if this isn't feeling good on the spine or the neck. If you have the nose turned away from that bent leg, lift the head, turn it back around, just set it back down, let the neck settle. And you'll bring the left leg back behind you. And now we'll turn the head the other way, everyone. So left side of the face down on the mat, right knee comes out to the side, inner edge of the foot down on the ground. Stay here or play with lifting the head and turning it the other way. So nose points away from that bent knee. If you have the nose away from the bent leg, lift the head, turn it back around, rest here, letting the spine settle, the neck settle. We'll all bring the right leg back behind us. Lift the head, looking down toward the mat. Bring the hands over by the chest. Come up to hands and knees. And let's do a few rounds of cat-cow. So stacking the shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees. On the inhale, lift the tail, reach the heart forward. On the exhale, round the whole spine. Eyes open or closed. Go a few more times on your own. Whatever pace makes the most sense. Back to a neutral spine. Take child's pose, big toes together, sit the hips back, forehead down. Up to you if you have the arms out in front of you or back behind you, whichever one's calling to you. And we'll start to walk the hands in toward the body, lifting the head and the chest. Bring the feet over to one side, and you'll come to seated on your mat, which you may need to scoot forward a little bit. Soles of the feet together, knees wide. And you might need to shift side to side until you feel even on the sit bones. Grab onto the ankles, sit up as tall as you can, and you're hugging in the femurs, the thigh bones into the hip socket to get those knees down a little bit lower. Lifting the chest, stay here, especially if you're getting a nice hip opening, inner thigh opening, or you could start to put more weight on the hips, which would mean bending forward. Grabbing the inner edges of the feet is helpful if you are going to move the spine forward and the chest forward. Elbows can come out to the sides and flare out. You could even rest them on the legs if that seems like a good spot for them. And you're opening up the feet like a book. So pinky toe sides of the feet together, big toes move away from one another. Close the eyes, breathe into the pose, the hip opening, Baddha Konasana, bound angle pose. Slowly start to rise back up to seated. Use the hands to bring the knees back together. Extend the legs out in front of you, reaching the arms all the way up. Fold forward over the legs, Paschimottanasana. You can grab the feet if they're right there. If they feel far away, just bring the hands to the legs or outside the legs onto the mat. So the hands touch something. And you'll start to rise back up to seated and decide if you'd like to close your practice with the seated meditation or come onto your back for Shavasana. Either way, coming into stillness, seeing which one's calling to you, getting yourself comfortable in a posture that you can completely let go in and just be. So less doing, more feeling. And if you're in your seated meditation, stay there. If you're on your back, start to find some movement in the hands and the feet. And you'll stretch the arms overhead. Walk the feet in, bending the legs, rolling over onto your right side. And using the hands to bring yourself up to your easy cross-legged seat, coming into your meditation where we'll all join together. Sitting up tall, taking a deeper breath in through the nose, back out through the nose. Bring the hands together in front of you. Maintain the lift of the chest as you bow the head, taking a moment to honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thank you.